Good evening, everyone. I bet you're surprised to see my face back again. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been on this call. I've got this terrible echo in here. I don't know whether... Can you hear it, Russell? Peter, can you hear that? It's
Slightly.
just me. It's going to make me go crazy.
You sound
Anyway,
beautiful, Sarah, as always.
Oh, thank you, Russell. Thank you. Flattery will get you everywhere. Anyway, evening, everybody. It is wonderful to have you. I can see everyone starting to jump on the call. So really happy to have you with us this evening. Of course, this evening is the first of the tastings from our new box that's out, our kindness box. And we are joined this evening with by Peter Hall from Lyttleton Distillery Company. I've got that right, Peter? Distillery Company. Okay. Everyone has a different thing, distilling, distillery. I can never get them right. And of course, as Russell's just pointed out, we are tasting Peninsular Gin tonight. So I'm super excited about that. And so you will need your wee bottle of Peninsular Gin. You will need a mixer. I've got my Mediterranean tonic with me this evening. And of course, you will need your tasting notes. So then you can write up your notes about Peninsula and follow along with us all. Kia ora, Cordula, nice to have you here with us. And of course, a little bit of ice, your tasting glass. Hopefully you've still got your suggestion one. I hope nobody's broken their suggestion tasting glass, have they? For those of you who got it in your box. It really does make a difference to a great tasting gin. And then all you need to do is, once you have all those things, sit back, relax, and we will be ready to go. Gosh, this annoying sound. I don't know why it is feedbacking on my end. Anyway, that just might mean that I won't talk quite so much tonight. That'd be a good thing, wouldn't it? So, as I have said, we are joined tonight by Peter Hall, who is going to take us through his tasting of Peninsular Gin. And of course, I have my wonderful offsider. Is that what I'll call you, Russell? Offsider.
Kia ora, Gin Zealand.
So we are all ready and raring to get tasting. I hope you are as well. And Nikki, I think, is in Facebook land chatting to everybody. I think that's what she's doing. Nikki, are you there? Just give me I can see somebody said, hello, lovely gin family. I presume that's Nikki because it's got a whole lot of emojis after it. So I'm pretty sure that'll be Nikki there. So please pop in the chat. Yes, Nikki is here. So great. Good to see that. Pop in the chat, say hi. We'd love to hear from you all. And whilst you're doing that, I am going to introduce to you Peter Hall. Peter, it's lovely to have you joining us this evening. And I have to say, I've been looking forward to this all week, waiting to taste this gin. Because, of course, we get to have a little sneaky taste when we're picking out what mixes go with everything. And yeah, this one got quite a few thumbs up at this household, that's for sure. There's been some very happy people tasting this gin. So I am really looking forward to tasting this tonight and hearing how you crafted this beautiful drop. So welcome, Peter. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you, Sarah, and welcome everyone to the mainland. I assume I'm probably talking mainly to the people on the other island.
Oh no, you would be surprised, Peter, actually.
Oh, okay. Well.
We have members from one end of the country to the other. I think the furthest north at the moment is Kerikeri, I think, and the furthest south would be Dunedin, because that's lower than Queenstown, isn't it? In the have we got an Invercargill person? I think we might have someone from Invercargill as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, well. So that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have this opportunity to have our gin mentioned. It's it's great, and so's the gin. I was making a delivery to one of our retailers just yesterday, the day before, and they are probably the biggest wine and spirit merchant in Christchurch.
Yeah.
And they have a big online business.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me that currently they were selling 5 times our gin to any other brand they stock.
That's fantastic, Peter.
They can't explain why, and nor can I really. Except we think we've got something special.
Yeah.
Or at least that's up there ranking with others, and that's really all I hoped for when I started out.
Well, let's not keep everyone in suspense, shall we, Peter? Shall we?
Sure.
Shall we have a little sniff, a little smell, and perhaps you can take us through what is it that we're likely to pick up on the nose when we're smelling it. And I love, Peter, that you've just picked up the great big bottle and you're like, yeah, let's have a good whiff of that. I think that's fabulous.
I don't have any small bottles.
I have bottle envy, Peter.
Yeah,
we do.
You've done a great job there. You've done a great job. Well, what do you?
Yeah, so what's everyone picking up on the nose? Because for me, Peter, I definitely get some of those spices coming through. There's a little bit of herbaceousness right at the back. I think that's a sweetness. Have I picked up the sweetness of the? Oh gosh, it's so hard, isn't it, everyone, to really tell what it is that you're smelling?
Yeah, I mean, what I tried to do at the start was make a traditional gin that my my grandmother might have noticed. Year before last, we made an entry into the New Zealand Spirit Awards. We managed to earn a bronze, which exceeded my expectations. But the judges there described or placed it in the contemporary gin section. So there was my objective, what I describe as a traditional gin. They thought was contemporary. I don't mind. I don't mind really. Okay, if I failed to make a traditional gin, whatever that might mean, then I'm happy with contemporary.
Yeah, I can see probably why as well, because even just on the nose, this is not a strong juniper forward kind of gin. You're not smelling. I'm not getting a lot of juniper. I think Cordula said that's a beautiful shaped bottle. Yes, it is a beautiful shaped bottle. So somebody said coriander on the nose, and Cordula's saying, I want to say Tangelo. I can definitely pick up a citrus in there.
Yeah, I can get the Tangelo comment, but there is no Tangelo in it. But there is some lemon zest and orange zest, and
that might be what's making it smell quite Tangelo to Cordula. Yeah,
the combination could be getting towards that, I guess.
So I mean, that smells sweet and full.
I haven't got many secrets in terms of quantity. Juniper is the largest, followed by not cardamom but coriander. So then cardamom, then manuka, wild thyme, and then we get down to rosehip.
So Anne's saying, I agree, Nikki. I want to say I smell sweet, which is a weird way to describe it. So I think what we're picking up on here, everyone, and Peter's just happened to mention it, is the cardamom. Cardamom is quite a sweet spice. And if you can recall that scent of cardamom, if you're a cardamom eater, lover, as I am, you'll really pick up on it very strongly once you have another smell. It's that, I think that is what's driving that sweetness to it. It's a beautiful, beautiful aroma, Peter. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, not cardamom isn't everyone's to everyone's liking, but a lot of people, when they comment about our gin, it's one of the things they like. At a local festival here back in February, across the harbour near Diamond Harbour, we had a stall that day, and it was a great opportunity to talk to people about their experience with the gin. We managed to sell nearly 600 gin and tonics in 5 hours. It was very popular, and it has driven a lot of sales, that particular outing, and it was very useful to me as the distiller, as the maker, to get other people commenting about things. But cardamom was mentioned just about by everyone.
Oh wow. Wow. Okay, so I think we've got the nose. Okay, who's done that? I have fried bananas with cardamom. Wow. See, look at that. I'm trying to see who that is. Oh, Dot. That's epic. Best tasting note I've ever heard. That's brilliant. And I can see where you're coming from. Fried bananas, that sweetness to it. Yeah.
Fried bananas.
Yeah. With cardamom. Oh, yum. Oh, that would be so tasty. All right, let's have a sip, eh? So,
some people have commented that.
Oh, sorry, Peter, you go.
I was going to say, some people have said to me that it's too full on for them, and I've asked them about their mixer and so forth. One thing it's one thing that's my preference is not to pour a double. I don't think it needs it. That's me. Others may think differently. But several people have said to me, yeah, you're right. You don't need a double. Now, some of our bar customers maybe pouring a single and charging a double. I don't know, but
let's hope not.
That's up to them.
All right. So should we have a little sip? I'm sure you already have you, Russell?
Yes, I have. Sorry, I'm halfway through
I knew you would be. So I'm going to try it 2 ways. I'm going to try it just absolutely neat, no ice, and then I'm also going to try it over ice as well, because I'm really interested to see how that changes the flavors. But what are we tasting, Peter, as we're having a sip of this? That cardamom really comes through strong for me.
Yeah,
right
I think that's it. Yeah.
Lovely. And I tell you what, Dot, I'm getting a little bit of fried banana now that you mention it.
Fried banana.
You know, like that taste of the lovely creamy sweet taste of a banana. I'm getting that flavour coming through as well.
That wouldn't have been my intention, because whilst
You're not a banana.
I like raw bananas, I do not like cooked bananas of any description.
Oh, okay. So I've just taken a sip of my one on ice, and that has. What do you reckon, Russell? That has really opened it up, softened out
smooth.
some of the harsher pieces to it.
Yeah, it smooths it out beautifully, I think.
It really does. And I tell you what it's done for me is it's dropped back the cardamom a little bit.
Yeah.
And now, mind you, I must say I love the cardamom. I love it. Absolutely love it. It's a fulsome gin. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, beyond the cardamom, my taste buds start to fail me, to be honest, which does make it hard when you purport to be a gin maker. But I rely heavily on friends and a super critical immediate family.
Peter,
well,
how did you become a gin maker? What's your story into gin?
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I think it's kind of interesting. It started out with a group of us being down in Central Otago for a Labour weekend about 3-4 years ago now. And we were all essentially wine drinkers or beer drinkers, with the odd exception. And somehow we got around to talking about Irish poteen.
I know it well.
Yeah, and someone sort of jokingly ventured that it was the making of poteen that was the cause of the famine, the Great Famine, because too many potatoes were diverted to poteen compared to the kitchen. And other shite like that was talked about. And anyway, on the 500 and something kilometre drive home from the lovely little town of Bannockburn, I just started to think about, well, how easy would it be to make spirits? Because I'm not really a spirit drinker. Depending on who came to visit, I could make a bottle of gin last a year. Not now, but back then. So I had no great burning desire to make gin as some sort of hobby or for my own drinking purposes. I was just interested to know what it would take, how you would do it, and so on. So I read a lot. And then I bought a small 20-litre still, and I made something that was absolutely terrible. And then I made another batch of alcohol using kumara and honey. And people told me that made quite a good vodka.
Oh,
because it's all vodka really until you flavour it. We'll put it in a barrel and let it go brown. It's all the same alcohol. So that sort of picked my spirits up a bit, and so then I went to grain. And I made another batch of alcohol and seemed to have more success that time when it came to the botanicals and so forth. And I would challenged people to taste it and so on, and they were saying, well, yeah, that's not too bad. And this went on for 2 years or more, trial batch after trial batch after trial batch.
Wow.
And then I started to think, well, what's the end game, Peter? Because you're not a huge spirit drinker. You can afford to go to the shop and buy your gin or whatever. What's the end game? And then I started to read up about how you would actually set up a distillery, what it would cost. Was there any prospect of making any money? There weren't many books about that. There was plenty of examples of failure. And then I started to think about, well, if you were going to go down that path, where would you get bottles for? Who would make labels? How would you get a label designed? And before I knew it, I was going down that pathway. And we got to the stage where we had a pallet of bottles, 3,000 labels, about 200 litres of alcohol, of which maybe 50 litres had been turned into gin, i.e. it had been through that botanical run. And I added up what it had cost. And I thought, I didn't think I'd spent that much money. But, and then we went on holiday to Europe. So this was mid 2019. So we'd had our license from customs, a license to make alcohol, and just to divert. We are one of the few New Zealand craft distilleries who make their own alcohol.
Yeah.
Most do the easy and probably sensible thing of buying in neutral spirit or whey alcohol from Frontiera. And I sort of formed this view that if you were going to claim in any way that you were giving your customer a grain to glass experience, you should at least be making your own alcohol if you wanted to use those terms. So I decided to plough on. Anyway, we went on holiday, went to Ireland briefly because my partner Marie is from there, so it was the family thing to do. And on to Portugal, on to Spain for about a month. And then we were meeting up with some local friends, a group of 8 of us all together, because we were lucky enough to have the use of a sailing yacht, out of Hydra. So the Greek islands and across to Turkey. And just as a joke, I had a flag made with the Lyttleton Distillery logo. We ran that up the mast. I had 8 T-shirts printed for everyone, and now and again, if we were ashore, which was mostly in Turkey, coastal Turkey, we would wear them. So anyway, we came home from holiday, and about a month later, early December, the wine and spirit people in the city here, Vino Fino, who I mentioned earlier, they rang me up and said, "Is that Lyttleton Distillery?" And I said, "Yeah." And who are you? And they said, "Oh, we're Vino Fino." And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm on your newsletter list. Have I won a prize or something?" And they said, "No. Do you make Peninsular Gin?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sort of." And they said, "Well, we've had a couple came into the shop this morning looking to buy it, and they said they'd seen it advertised in Turkey. So I don't know. We might be the first business who's in setup spent their precious advertising dollars on advertising in Turkey. But anyway, so I said, well, yeah, yes, I could put some in a bottle, and I could put some labels on the bottle. How many do you want? And they said, oh, you better give us 6. And there was silence, and they said, oh, you sound a bit disappointed, Peter. And I said, well, 6. You know you've already got 2 sold. You've just told me that. And that only leaves 4. And they said, oh, well, that'll do. We'll give that a trial. Well, within 2 or 3 days, they were ringing up for another, for a case of 6. And after about 2 weeks, they were ordering by the dozen. So it's grown from there. And we seem to have a business. And we're now at the sort of,
you're almost like the reluctant artisan, Peter.
Yeah.
Kind of. I thought I'd sort of retired, but I did try that once about 10 years ago, and I didn't enjoy it much, so I went back, and then I thought, no, this time I'm not. If I'm going to stop working, I'm not going to hanker to do what I've done most of my career. There has to be something different, but I really wasn't thinking about going into business.
And it just happened anyway. So we've got a few people, Peter, asking, what mixes do you add to your gin? We've had some, I'm seeing, look at what we've got here, Peter. You'll love this. So I think this is Dot. Dot is saying she's splashed some blood orange bitters over the gin, and it's citrusy. She's obviously enjoying that. And she's saying she's added the grapefruit and thyme tonic. I think that was my second choice, Anne, as far as the mixer that we were putting in the box with this. Because
grapefruit and thyme.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's really nice.
I haven't heard that one.
I imagine, Anne, you're enjoying a very nice G&T with that. And then we all know who this one is, don't we? Sorry, cannot edit. I added Fever Tree Mediterranean, and this is divine. Yes, Nikki, we know that you love Mediterranean tonic. And I agree. So this Mediterranean tonic won out for us in what we were putting in the box with this, because I just think it just adds enough, but not too much to it. So Peter, what would you normally drink with it?
Certainly Fever Tree. I'm a great Fever Tree fan. And I'm mostly a straight Indian tonic person. But I've in front of me here, I've got a cucumber.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Although not a Fever Tree one, because I went to the local supermarket here, which is probably an exaggeration, certainly in terms of size, to be calling it a supermarket, but they do a great job. And I was going to buy some Fever Tree cucumber and Fever Tree grapefruit. And back at that festival that I talked about earlier, where we sold heaps of G&Ts, we had a range of Fever Tree. We had Mediterranean, the cucumber, and the grapefruit, and then the light one and the Indian tonic. And we ran out of the cucumber. Then we ran out of the grapefruit, then the cucumber, and we still had plenty of straight Indian tonic. And we had heaps of the light stuff. Nobody really was interested.
That's my favourite one.
In that, but blood orange. I've actually got here in front of me a bottle of blood orange tonic made by a company called Bootleggers.
Oh yeah.
Don't know if you've heard of them. For some unknown reason, they sent me a box with 6 bottles of their range.
Yeah.
There was no letter with it. There was no prior correspondence. And then shortly they came up. After that, they came up on my radar. They were crowdfunding to extend their business, and so I bought some shares, and I got another box of their tonic waters. So I was going to try the blood orange tonight because it's the last one left, I think. But so for me personally, blood orange, straight Indian tonic, and the cucumber are probably the 3.
That's an unusual selection as well.
Yeah.
But I think that actually speaks a lot to the gin that you've produced as well, Peter, because it's a very versatile gin. You know, like I can imagine that you could safely put pretty much any mixer with this gin and not offend the gin at all. And so I think that, you know, the fact that you're putting cucumber with it, which is quite a strong tonic, right? That's quite a strong mixer. You know, like it's not my personal favorite, that's for sure. But I can see that it would hold its own up with this gin. So what's everybody else doing?
My partner, she mostly has soda water.
We have a lot of soda water fans, Peter. A lot of fans that are a lot of our members are not tonic drinkers at all. They don't like tonic.
I just thought it was an odd thing and probably because she was Irish.
Okay, is this Dig at Russell night? Because I love Dig at Russell night. That's my favourite.
It's funny. I prefer soda in my gin to most tonics because I like the gin to really come through. So maybe it is an Irish thing. Maybe our palates are just more sophisticated.
Oh no, I think your palates are just weird. That's what it is.
Possibly,
because I actually find that with some gins, I don't know whether everybody else finds this as well. I have to watch where I'm sitting because if I get too close to my light, I look like I've gone fluorescent. But I have to watch with some gins because if you add soda to it, I don't know whether anyone else finds it, but I find it starts to taste soapy, which is really weird, but it tastes like soap.
I don't like it myself, but
I think I like the bitterness of tonic or the quinine in the tonic that sort of cuts through the gin sometimes. Like that's why I can't drink. Like I really struggle to drink the Sweeps tonic because I find it's just too sweet and syrupy. I don't actually want sweet with my gin. I want it to still have a bit of a bite and a bit of bitterness.
Yes, I agree. I'm just going to grab another glass here. This cucumber.
Russell, you have a fan, Russell. I like Russell because I'm a soda drinker and don't like tonic. There you go. I will drink. I definitely drink soda with some of the gins because I do find that some of the gins will, but for some reason, it just tastes a little bit too soapy to me.
Yeah.
But who's saying that it could be the Irish blood? Oh, Tanya Thompson. I knew it would be you.
Well, I've just poured a cucumber. It's not the fever tree cucumber because, as I was saying before, when I went to the supermarket, there was no fever tree on the shelf. So all I could buy was a Schweppes cucumber. I didn't.
Oh, that new range of Schweppes, yeah.
Yeah, and it's too sweet. You're right, Sarah.
But that new range is better than the big bottle stuff.
Oh yeah, it's better.
You know, their fancy range, if you like.
Mm.
But it is still much sweeter, isn't it? Then, especially if you're used to Peter drinking the Fever Tree.
Mm.
Okay, who just gets great points for saying this? Love the tonic, brings out the thyme flavour too. So here's my next little experiment. I'm about to tip in a little bit more Mediterranean tonic, and then I'm going to just give a little bit of a light crush to some of that fresh thyme that we sent in your box with us. And I'm just going to give that a little light squeeze and drop that into my gin. A little bit of greenage in my gin and give that a try. My goodness, isn't thyme the most amazing? I don't know whether you got that when you opened your box, but the thyme smell is just beautiful. And Peter, you use wild thyme in this?
Wild thyme, yeah, which I've been down again to Central Otago to Bannockburn and have done my biannual, half yearly forage down there for wild thyme, and I spent, I don't know, 23 years down that part of the world, and my three children were all brought up down there, and part of me is always there. And when I got down there again, when was it? The end of last week, and I pulled up at the house and opened the door, and the first thing that hit me was thyme, because it grows over the hillsides there on the side of the road, up the hill. It's everywhere.
Wow.
And it's just the most fabulous thing, but it's a very difficult thing to manage as a botanical in the gin.
Is that because it's so strong?
It's partially because it's strong, but I think it must also be because it's got a high oil content.
Oh, yeah.
So when it comes from in your botanical run, or having following your botanical run, or at least for us, it's that point where we reduce the alcohol from 92, 94 ABV down to our bottling strength of 42%. And for that, you need a quality water. But I found with some waters, when I was trialing all of this, I found I would try up a range of waters, and some of them, as soon as the alcohol, flavored alcohol, came in touch with the water, it went cloudy.
Mm.
And the cloudiness didn't disappear; it stayed there. People said to me, "Oh, it'll go in a few days," but with some batches it did, some batches it didn't. And I put it down to that probably that it was the thyme with which I think would have the highest oil content amongst the range of botanicals, was probably the culprit. And so you know, we would like to be reducing down the alcohol level, you know, using water from a spring or whatever, you know, and be able to tell that story. But it just didn't work very well for us. Now, there may be some other explanation. And so we went for distilled water.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having said that, just recently, someone told me about a water spring on the peninsula here, and I've harvested some water, and I've tried it, and I didn't get the cloudiness. And this is a spring that's been running as far as any Pākehā anyway can remember, for over 100 years. So maybe that should be our source. It certainly would be in line with our name, Peninsular Gin, from Banks Peninsula, Lyttleton, and so on. So it'd be great if we could, we get our Manuka from the peninsula. We get grains from Canterbury. We get our citrus from Gisborne, and so on. It would not be nice to have something more immediately local to add to the story. It took a lot of trial and error to avoid that cloudiness. And I think it was the time, even though I love it very much. And
are you sorry, Peter, are you happy now that with so many variables going into the gin, are you happy now that you've landed on a consistent formula that will be here to stay?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've got some ideas about a couple of other styles of the gin.
Okay.
I'd like to try and make a gin which just used juniper, wild thyme, and wild rosehip. And so that's kind of next on my list when I've got time. But before I do that, I've got to find bigger premises, because we are constrained by the very small space we have at the moment, and we need a bigger still. But with the small size of our still at the moment, it's heavily labour intensive, and we've either got to just carry on doing what we are and go no further, or we go up a big step in terms of commitment, in terms of money. I read when I started out amongst my research I read an article that said, if you're going to start a distillery, don't bother unless you've got $250,000. And I thought, that's probably what set me on the path, really. I reckon, it would never cost that.
Yeah.
but it probably does. Well, if we go this next step, so I sort of ponder. All of my three children are established in their own business, or businesses, and so I don't see anybody really wanting to come to Lyttleton and run a distillery, or run it anywhere else for that matter. But who knows? They might get sort of midlife crisis or something, but honestly, I would I would just as rather. Well, of course, you would let your family in the door if that's what they wanted. But in many ways, I would just be happy enough to pass it on to someone who was young and enthusiastic and didn't have the money, because I kind of don't need it. Well, it's always nice, of course, but you know.
I find it.
That article about all that money, that's what it would cost, and don't do it unless you would take the same money to the races. I'm not quite that well off, but you've got to do something, and you might as well indulge yourself in some ways. Haven't been able to travel. That's probably another reason. COVID's been great for sales, but our retail, we don't have a license to sell direct to the public, as I think I might have said to you, Russell.
Yes.
Not yet, anyway. But our retail customers who could do online sales, they did.
Yeah.
Well, it was a saviour probably for most of them.
Send them all
without doubt.
www.suggestion.co.nz, Peter.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have some lovely stock of Peter's gin. And I'd like to say, Peter, like, one of the things that really struck me about your gin as well is that you've managed to come in at a really affordable price point as well. And I wondered whether that was because you were making your own base spirit as well. Does that help to keep your costs down? Like, how have you managed to do that?
I think it doesn't keep the cost down. I think in actual fact it would be cheaper to buy a neutral spirit.
Wow.
I haven't done the sums, to be honest. I set out to establish a craft distillery. I didn't set out to set up a business that flavoured alcohol.
Yeah.
Although that's probably the biggest part of it, the most difficult part of it, getting that right. Once you've got a recipe, it's consistency can be a problem where, but after a time, it's not such a big one. But with small batches, I think people are fairly tolerant of a little bit of variation, a little bit of inconsistency. You're using citrus. There can be a big difference between, particularly, between breeds of orange and lemon. There's a difference if you're using Maya lemon compared with Yen Ben. You'll need more of one than the other, and is what I found, and so on. It's always a challenge. And then when you don't have a very good nose and palate yourself, I'm always fretful after I've bottled. Well, before I bottle, having reduced the alcohol content down to 42%. Sometimes when I go to bottle and I put my nose to it, I've many times had to ring home and get Marie to come down and put her nose to it because I can't detect anything.
Yeah.
And it scares the bejesus out of you, because you've got 50, 60 litres or more that you've reduced down to 42% and need to bottle because customers are placing orders, and then you at the death knell you can't smell anything. It's a problem.
Well, I tell you what, Peter, we have got quite a few of our members in the Canterbury region as a whole. There is a very well represented membership there, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind tootling over the hill every once in a while if you needed their help. I'm sure they'd be happy to do that. So yeah.
Once we get into some larger premises, one of the things I'm kind of looking forward to is being able to invite more people to come and see what we're doing. At the moment, it's just not conducive to that, and it wouldn't be safe, to be honest, in the confined space that we now find ourselves in. Of course, if I was a bit tidier, maybe a bit a bit different. But no, that's one of my aims with getting larger premises, because I quite like talking to people about the process. I've got no secrets. People can pretty much ask me anything about the business. Just going back to your earlier thing about cost and whatnot. The price point is down there, and I think just about everyone else has raised their price. I haven't. And there's mixed views about that. Maybe I should, because to be frank, there's not much money in if any in the wholesale price. About on the scale of a craft distillery, about half of your wholesale price point is going to disappear into getting it into the bottle.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, you've got excise tax of about just shy of $17 each bottle. So then you're getting down to the sort of $25, $28 left.
Yeah.
And then you've got all the other costs of operating the business, and hopefully, you might be able to buy yourself a feed of fish and chips at the end of the week. It's a fine line, and there's no. We're probably breaking even without sort of paying ourselves. But if we introduced an employee into that equation, it would be different. Things would be different. We know that if we went out and got more retail customers, then we'd get a better return on the other costs, apart from the direct costs of making the product. We'd get a better return on all those other costs, rent, rates, all those things, power that are there, whether you sell one bottle or 1,000. So that's in the financial side of things. That's where the improvement can come, even at this price point. But like everything, costs of juniper are up at least 50 or 60% on 2020, everything's more expensive. Bottles hard to come by, subject to levies on containers, and
it's crazy, isn't it?
And labels are more expensive. The last lot of corks I put in in the bottle were like about $1.30 each, and that's, that doesn't sound much, but all those sort of things, add it to the label and the bottle and so on, it adds up.
Without doubt.
So maybe some direct sales to the public if we were to apply for and get a license to do that. I've been reluctant so far because I remain immensely grateful to the retailers who have supported us to date. And I certainly wouldn't compete with them on retail price if I got a license. But I think the reality is that getting some sales at the retail price is part of getting to some sort of viability.
Yeah.
Either that or
But look, I don't hear anybody rushing to pull out their handkerchiefs to mop up the tears or anything. It's just part of me. I don't mind talking about the realities of business. When we got our license to make alcohol, Customs said to me that that was towards the end of 2017. We were probably about the 65th, I think, craft distillery, so called. I think the number must be over 100 now. But they did say we were one of the few making our own alcohol. And I think it would be easier if we didn't. There's other things I wouldn't do. Well, maybe I still would because I'm a bit stubborn. But our choice of bottle, I would now say that anybody who chose a bottle that is tapered and has a concave surface front and back is an idiot. Because
is that because of the label?
Yeah, and choosing a clear label is also on that list of idiocy, because so far I haven't been able to find a machine that will label them.
Oh, yeah.
So every one of the bottles that goes out the door is hand labeled, and it still takes me at least 3/4 of an hour to label 6 bottles.
Wow.
And in that time, I will probably rip off every third front label, because what shows up is air bubbles. Show up very easily, and it's very hard to eliminate them. I've got a machine salesman who says he's got the machine that'll do it, and I've said to him, send it to me, and we'll try it out, and if it does well, then we'll buy it. The other solution, of course, is, and probably the common sense one, is to put it in a round bottle, Peter.
We all love that bottle.
But yeah, and put a paper label on it.
I
round
think
bottle.
It looks beautiful. It looks so stunning.
We think it looks good on the shelf. We think it stands out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It causes. It's a lot of our labour time. I won't say labour cost. Labour time goes into labelling. So it truly is, a handcrafted thing from woe to go. But yeah, I didn't anticipate that. went through the bottle catalogue and said, "That looks a nice bottle. What do you think?" And then I wanted something to do with the harbour water, whatnot, and I saw these yellow sails. I said that to someone recently, and they said, "Oh, we thought it was the spotlights beaming from the top." And I said, "No." But anyway, I saw these yellow sails on some signage down the harbour there one day, and I thought, I think we'll have that, something like that. So that's what led to that. And so we got the thing labelled by design input into it, and they came up with the LDC at the top. And it wasn't until months and months later that I realised that if you turn that on its side, probably can't see it. Well, people will be able to see if they've got a bottle in front of them.
Oh, yeah.
You've got a glass, a straw, and a wedge of something on the rim.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
So I rang the guy that did that. And I said, "Was that intentional?" And he said, "No, no." He said, "I didn't see it. One of my sons-in-law, my only son-in-law, saw it." Yeah.
Oh, fabulous.
So there we are. So,
Peter, there's three things I absolutely love about the stories you've told tonight. The sort of first one is the fact that this all started with a conversation around poaching means I'm a fan for life, one way or the other. The second one is, I think I owe you an apology because I called you a reluctant artisan. I think I'm going to change that to a persistent artisan. So your dedication to the craft is to be admired. Making your own alcohol, you don't want to do it the easy way, right? So you want to do it properly. And I think the third one is you've created a really unique gin. I can't think of anything else that tastes anywhere like this. It's very distinctive, it's very unique and very drinkable, and I love it. So you are to be congratulated because your
thank you
effort.
for that. Yeah, I acknowledge it's not everyone's taste, but we have an increasing following. So I hope your subscriptors enjoy it, and I hope they come to your store and benefit us both.
Sure they will. Anne's just saying she needs to disappear, but she's thanking you, Peter, for a lovely gin and says keep it up. So
Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like we said, everyone, we have got bottles in stock. This is, I know that we've kind of talked about the pricing and stuff and it being at the lower end. This is $69.95 for a bottle of this gin, and that is really, really reasonable pricing because this is, and like Peter says, I think a little goes a long way. This is one of those gins that actually you don't need to have, you know how sometimes if you're going to mix it with something, you really have to top it up with quite a bit of gin. This is not one of those types of gin. It's got a lot of flavor in it. It'll carry itself through quite easily. I've happily sipped away through, I've poured myself 3 little glasses with my Mediterranean tonic tonight while we've been drinking this, and it's just held its flavor so beautifully. So you've done an amazing job, Peter.
Well, thank you. We intend to keep going. I think that decision is made. So we'll.
Who else is like me and thinks that Peter should have another crack with kumara and honey base spirit? I'm very fascinated by that, Peter. Very fascinated.
Well, it's an interesting thing you mentioned the kumara and the honey because I've made batches with table sugar, and nobody has yet been able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's quite a few that use a base spirit made with sugar, don't they? Like a sugar wash.
Yeah. Well, I've just this week turned to thoughts about rum. Because some of the literature, trade literature coming out of the States in particular, suggests that rum sales will soon exceed bourbon and gin sales. So I thought, well, how hard can that be? But you talk about sugar, it's raw sugar and molasses.
Yeah. Sugar on sugar.
And and it's proved quite a challenge. Quite a challenge.
I like your thinking, Dot. Dot's suggesting, have you thought about using palm sugar? That would be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I've got, but most recipes that I've read about is raw sugar and molasses, but there's a little
a little sample of rum.
Yeah.
Is that the base spirit or the rum?
That's the rum.
Oh.
Wow. And it hasn't even aged.
Wow.
So we could be seeing a rum coming from Lyttleton Distillery.
Well, we shouldn't be talking about it on the gin program, I suppose. But the golden color comes from, because it's a white arc, the alcohol's white, clear. It's Bacardi, like white Bacardi. The color, the golden color, has come from a Dominican tree bark that I've been able to import, much to my surprise. I thought MPI would turn it back at the border, but it's all a long story as to how I got onto it. But I ordered it and expected it, that my money, I wouldn't see anything for my money because it'd be turned back at the border, and I'd struggled to find this person in the Dominican Republic to refund my money. But it arrived one day.
Amazing.
So
well,
slightly spiced, but there's a whole new. We could do a whole program on my experience with the fermenting of molasses and raw sugar.
Yeah.
Because
we'll start our rum subscription, Peter. We'll call him.
Give me a call. Yeah. But meanwhile, here's to the gin.
Oh,
here's
absolutely.
to the gin. Exactly, Peter.
Hasn't it been wonderful, everybody? I don't have any gin left to cheers you with, but I really enjoyed that final glass that I had with the Mediterranean, and then just that little bit of the fresh thyme in there. Absolutely stunning. So yeah, this is a absolutely beautiful gin. Thank you, Peter, for sharing it with ourselves and our members. For those of you who are watching on the replay, please put a hashtag replay for any comments that you are making, because we always love to see them as well. But once again, please join me and Russell in thanking Peter for spending a precious hour of his time when he could have been off labelling 6 bottles for somebody else. But a precious hour of his time and sharing his gin with us, because, I, for one, think it's absolutely stunning. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Most enjoyable.
Thanks, Peter. And thanks,
all
everyone, for tuning in.
Go well. Go safe.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Just a little public service announcement. Next Wednesday is our next tasting. We're still not saying who's going to be the tasting because there are some people who still haven't got their box yet. So we're just leaving that. I will be doing a unboxing video. I'll probably save it till Saturday, so then everybody's got their box then. So check out live. I will have a live unboxing for you on Saturday, and we will see you all next week on Wednesday for our next tasting evening. See you later, everybody.
Farewell. Thank you.